You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we have two special guests joining us, Adam Cohen and George Bosnjak, co-founders of Morph Services. And we'll get back to them in just a moment. But first, a message from our partner at CallRail. How many high-value cases did you all lose in the past year because your firm couldn't respond fast enough? 81% of law firms say slow response times costing them business and sometimes nearly a quarter of their annual revenue. That's why you need CallRail in 2026. Integrated into your case management system, CallRail helps you capture every call, even after hours, spot the high-value leads, instantly respond faster, and gain the insights you need to bring in bigger cases. Join over 3,000 law firms using CallRail to follow up faster, land bigger cases, and drive real growth. You can contact us to get started. The link's also below. Now back to our special guests. Welcome in.
Hey, great to be here with you.
Thanks for having us, Benny.
Yeah, great to have you with Lawyer Stories. Glad we could, we can make it work. Sounds like you're doing some interesting things. So, as we said earlier, guests today are Adam Cohen and George Bosnjak, co-founders of Morph Services. Morph is helping organizations work smarter with their data by transforming complex paperwork into trusted, structured, interoperable data that flows seamlessly across systems, powered by advanced large language modules and proprietary accuracy tools. Morph is helping businesses eliminate the expensive, time-consuming, and often inaccurate process of manual data entry and digitization. You both have various skills in this sort of field and in building, being founders. Adam brings extensive experience in strategy, operations, and leadership. And George has built scaled multiple healthcare technology companies focused on innovation and operational excellence. So together, you're building technology that's not focused on the flashy AI, but on a practical, ethical, secure systems that solve real-world operational problems across industries. So welcome to Lawyer Stories. That was a long intro. So I'll let you guys talk for a little while.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Hope we got that all right.
Did great.
Yeah,
I aced it.
Good. So let's this is Lawyer Stories. So let's get into the background a little bit. Adam and George, let's start at the beginning. What are your backgrounds and what initially drew each of you into technology and entrepreneurship? We could start right up there with George.
Yeah, happy to do that. So long story, I've been, this is Morph is now startup company number 4 for me.
Wow.
And it's gotten to where it's been a really great habit. Love the beginning, love building stuff from scratch, love solving problems and working with great people. My background is actually not in technology or startups. It was originally in working on government and helping businesses grow in my state here of Michigan. And I got to meet with a lot of entrepreneurs and people starting companies then. About 16 years ago, had an opportunity to go and begin work with a health information exchange. So moving patient data all across the state of Michigan. New idea 16 years ago, wasn't a common thing. Similar story, limited resources, big ideas, and we had to get the largest health systems and payers around the state around the table to contribute and want to work and build. We grew that organization to the largest private health information exchange in the country. Wow. Fully privately funded by all of our members. Grew that up over 10 years, had an opportunity with a fintech startup working around how do we process healthcare billing. And then just prior to starting Morph, and this is actually where Adam and I met, was in a company called Professional Credentials Exchange, where we were finding an efficient way to manage healthcare and other type of regulated industries, a process for credentialing individuals, making sure they are who they say they are, they have everything. In a process that used to take 3 months, we got it down to a few days. We exited that company, and with our learnings there, saw a real opportunity around how do we leverage the new large language models and some of our other business technology to be able to share data. So starting in January 2025, we launched Morph and have been building and growing that over the last 14 years. So that's the story of how we got or I got to where I am today. Adam?
So
Yeah, go ahead.
what was it about 14 years? You were doing all those things over the last 14 years.
Yeah, last 14 to 16 years. Yes.
Wow.
So it's been 4 startups over 14 years. So from zero, where you don't have a customer, don't have a revenue, to growing them up to where they had 40, 50, 60 employees, taking care of families, taking care of your customers. And so far have all been good, positive exits.
Let me ask you a follow-up question. And it might be a simple question, but I don't believe that there's any like simple or stupid questions. I think there's only those type of. So like, what is a true startup to you? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So for us, a real startup for me is you have a really great idea. You have the foundations for technology. You got a little bit of backing and funding for someone to believe in you, but you don't have customers yet. You haven't proven that what your idea is and what your technology is successful at scale. You're fighting without, you don't have a finance director. You don't have marketing rules. It's one day we're doing HR pamphlets. The next day you're putting marketing material. The next day you're writing contracts.
Right.
That environment where you've kind of got to be a jack of all trades to get something off the ground. And the fact that you've got something where it's an idea and a passion that you believe in. I'm not saying that, when you work for a corporation or something else that you don't believe in the mission there. But at a startup, you've got to buy into it because there's not the business model isn't proven out. So you're buying into the idea. So for me, startups are pre-revenue, an idea, and a bunch of passionate people, and you turn that into something that's real.
Does it have to be a technology thing or no?
No, absolutely not. There's startups all the time you think of local startups or, in landscaping or something else locally, or even a lawyer breaking off on their own, starting their own shop. That's a startup. You're building something and you're believing in yourself, and you don't know 100% it's going to work, and you got to build it from scratch. So I think that you can have that startup mentality in any industry.
I like it. Thanks for the explanation. So Adam, tell us about yourself. Like, how did you get into all of this up to like when you met George?
Yeah. I'm a management consultant by trade, focused in strategy and operations and leadership. So have always had a passion for that. But somewhere along the line, I wanted to have a variety of different experiences. And I've always been focused on, life and business is just about the people, understanding how people behave in different environments and the language they speak, what drives them, their priorities, and all of that is important. So I went from management consulting firm and joined a private equity backed company. I wanted to see what it was like to work in that environment with the pressures and goals associated with private equity backing. And so then I've worked my way kind of down the line as far as size for the rest of my career, from a private equity backed company that went public to venture backed business with a couple of key investors. Met George in 2020, as he mentioned, and now all the way to this is the first business that I've been a co-founder for. So experienced all those different phases and the exciting things that come with it, learned from the challenges of it, kind of with an acute focus on how do people behave and what do they need to be successful in those different environments.
Wow. Okay. And it's like when you're a startup and like a founder and entrepreneur, is there like an itch, do you think, to like keep doing it? Is that like what happens after a while?
You know what? It's interesting. I don't know if it works the same way for everyone, but I love the study of leadership and how people behave. It's just a personal passion outside of, anything else. I think it applies to a lot of things. And what has kept me moving in the direction of founding a company and choosing who you do that with, which I think is most important in all of this. Like, I've had an opportunity to work with George. I chose to found a business with him because of the type of person he is and the way that he operates. We have another colleague, Matt, who is a part of the team as well here at Morph, a co-founder. I think the reason why I've continued in this direction is because I have seen the things that motivate people, the outcomes they're trying to drive.
Yep.
And so I have an internal passion for how do you build a company that really cares about every stakeholder deeply and aligns all of your activities. And the bigger you get and the more folks you have involved, the more money you have involved, the less you have an opportunity to curate that from the beginning. So I'm intrigued by the concepts of, hey, as you can get earlier and earlier into a business, how can you put your fingerprint on how all that comes together?
That's interesting. So when you speak about leadership, like what things does a good leader need to have?
I mean, we could have an entire podcast series
Sure
on
we
that,
could.
and I would love it. At the end of the day, what I really care about, and this is a crude answer to your question, but just kind of from the top,
Yep.
is the values that you have and being able to live those values in every decision that you make, regardless of the topic and regardless of the pressures. And when you do that, I am a believer that the right things will fall into place, even if it's a step backward at the moment. It will be multiple steps forward in the future. If you can't look at yourself in the mirror and say you've made those decisions in a value-based way, I don't know how you are prideful in the leadership that you are providing to a company. People rely on you. You feed
Yep.
people, right? You take care of their families. That's an important thing. Customers buy your service. They rely on you.
Mhm.
And to folks like George and I, that means a lot.
Yeah, no, for sure. And George, you spent a significant time in healthcare technology. Like, what lessons did that industry teach you?
Yeah. So I think that one of the biggest takeaways, and I think that this applies to a lot of different things, is when you don't know kind of how an industry or a new group works, your assumption is, man, this is really complicated. This is, they've got everything figured out. I'm coming in as the newbie and I've got to catch up. And I think a lot of times, at least in healthcare, I learned that there's a lot of processes in our healthcare system that are extraordinarily broken. Communication wise is broken, incentive wise can be broken, and there's a ton of opportunity to fix and improve it.
Yeah.
I think that applies to, we're learning quite a lot here over the last few months about the criminal justice industry.
Yep.
And it's intimidating for, it's a new industry for us. It's a new group of people. It's a new way of thinking. But I think you find some of those common trends where in healthcare, you think of it as a very complicated. When you go to the doctor, there's machines, there's computers, and there's process, and there's people that have done this, but there's still stuff that can be improved. So certainly I think that my time in healthcare, it was an eye-opening that approach every new industry and every new situation looking for what can be made better, have an open mind to people have done things a certain way for a reason, but you can learn and you can improve all of that. So we try to take that open, optimistic attitude that we can bring that with our values, with our technology, with just the way that we treat our people and we treat our customers, that you can make a difference there. So that's really what I think I learned in healthcare and what Adam and I really try to take to whatever industry we're working in.
Okay. Interesting. So, and Adam, your background, as we talked about, sort of emphasizes value-driven leadership and operations. So where does that mindset come from? Like, when did you start kind of building that mindset?
You know what? The leadership part really started all the way back in college. Went to the University of Georgia, was in the business school there, and had the opportunity to interact with some really great folks that became important mentors. And there were a few individuals in the University of Georgia community who had retired from corporate America and said, we really have exceptional subject matter experts. Our accountants know how to do accounting. Our lawyers are great legal minds. Our operators know how everything works. But establishing a shared vision, getting individuals to rally around that shared vision and feel great about what they're doing every day, treating them well, was harder to come by. So there was a leadership program at the business school there that was endowed by an individual named Earl Leonard, who's a great mentor of mine, and worked in that leadership institute for 2 years while I was an undergraduate, and just caught the bug there, and then really benefited from opportunities to exercise those skills through volunteer work and a couple of first jobs. And realized that at the end of the day, that's the through line that I'm passionate about in everything that you do. So now it's from everything from Morph to coaching Little League Baseball.
Nice.
That's where that lives.
Are you coaching?
I'm sorry.
Are you coaching?
Yeah, I've got 2 little guys, and so
What age group? I gotta ask.
I've got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Nice. I got same 7-year-old and a 4-year-old daughter.
There you go. Yeah, those skills. You need those skills with the 7-year-olds and the 4-year-olds when you're out there on the diamond, trying to make it work every day.
Yeah, totally. No, that's great. I know it could be a challenge wrangling them all up. Hey guys, I want you to be across from each other, throwing the ball, like not all over the field. Anyway, but yeah. I know the challenges. Very good. So you tell us about meeting each other and knowing that. I thought it was interesting. You said you were talking about, you got to meet the right person when you're going to go into business with somebody and have a startup. So tell us about that, like chemistry or synergy or whatever that like you guys kind of came across.
Oh man, which one you want me to go first on that? Yeah. So, I think to know who you can work with really well, you've got to know what you're good at and what you're not good at, because no one is good at everything. And you've got to be really honest with yourself about where are your talents, and be okay not being good at certain parts of a business, because you need a wide, vast stretch of skills and expertise to make a business run, from finance to planning to communication to being a good leader to having all of that vision. And it's very rare that you're going to find someone that is, a 10 out of 10 across the board in everything.
Right.
By rare, I mean, they don't exist. No one exists that can do all of that. And, my background has been very much on how do I get a bunch of people that maybe normally don't agree or haven't worked together around a table, and how can I find a path forward and a vision for everybody to go move in that direction. Now, once you get that and you get everyone around the table and agree on it, you need someone that has a really good planning mind, a really good organizational mind, someone that's bright, that can follow through, that understands how to communicate that vision over and over to everyone. And that's really what Adam's great at. He's wonderful at taking people and an idea and making it a reality. And that comes down to a little bit more of, I always say he does the grinding work. He's the detail guy. He makes sure things follow through. I'm a little bit more of the aloof in the sky. I'm like, I think that we can do this in this area. Why can't we solve this problem? And that doesn't always translate as to where I'm great at following through on things, or that I'm good at making sure our legal paperwork's correctly filed, or I certainly don't do our finance and accounting work. Those sort of things. So, we really clicked on, we match really well in our skill sets. And, he's focused on values and mission, and ours aligned. I think the same thing. You've got to be, you got to take care of people first. Like, that's our number one rule, is we take care of our people, and we take care of the people that we're working with, whether that's partners, whether that's, meeting a guy like you that's running a podcast that hopefully, we can be helpful to and learn from and grow in the future, to our investors that we make sure that we take care of. That's, if there's one thing I can say, we've never disagreed on what the right thing to do is in our 7 years in building a business. So if you've got someone that you can trust, that believes in you and is extraordinarily complementary to what you're good at and what you love to do and where you can pour your passion, if you can mix those together, you can do some pretty neat things.
It's amazing. I love what you say about people too. You're not going to get that like 100% from everybody.
No one is.
Not even, I mean, that's any type of person, like in life, not even just business partners, So that's awesome. That's a great description. How about you, Adam?
Yeah. I don't know that I could have said it any better than George. I remember the first day that I met George, we were on a road show. We had just joined a company together. He predated me by a few months there. And so I took a trip to Michigan, and we were driving across Michigan, and, somebody hops in the car and you say, all right, is this going to be a great road trip, or is this going to be a crappy road trip? And, we hopped from organization to organization talking about what we were doing. And between just the beautiful conversations in the car, I go, all right, I like this guy. Just general likability, which certainly helps. Likability, if you're with somebody, you're spending a lot of time with them. Likability is good. So I was like, all right, check there. And then we go into these rooms, and George has this wonderful ability to put everyone at ease and help bring them together around what you're doing and get them excited. And so I sat and I said, wow, this guy has a lot of talent around this stuff, and it's fun to watch. And so, that was just our first meeting. And I could tell you scores of stories about really exciting, fun, successful things that we've done and how that's cool. But what I think is most important, and at the end of the day, why I would choose to start a business with somebody, and specifically start a business with George, is you are best tested with adversity. And what I have found is every time we have adversity, I can lean on George and my thoughtfulness, my approach, the questions that we ask each other, the way that we work through it is enhanced because I have the opportunity to do it with George.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, what I see a lot of times is you think somebody is great, but when they're squeezed, they crumble, or they can't compliment you. And when we're squeezed, because everybody gets squeezed, if they don't say they get squeezed at some point, they're lying to you.
Yep.
I get strength from George. So I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's an important ingredient for any business. The more you can surround yourself with entire teams that complement everybody in that way, the better positioned you are, in my opinion, to succeed.
That's awesome. That's really insightful. I'm thinking about like my own stuff that I got going on when you talk about who's next to you when you're getting squeezed, when the pressure's on, and who's going to kind of help you out. So let's talk about Morph now. So describe to us like what Morph Services does and the need that this is addressing across industries.
George, you want to start with what it does, and then I'll talk about kind of addressing across the industries?
Yeah, I'll start with kind of a little bit of the idea as to where we saw, what was the aha moment when we saw, hey, here's a technology or a process that we think can be applied to some other areas. And it really came in our last business where we were managing credentials. Credentials come in tons of paper, your university certificate, your background check, your driver's license, your social security number, your, any training certificates you have. I'm sure you're very used to this, and your field is there's tons of different licenses, bar exam passes, all these things that have to be tracked. Well, every industry has that, specifically healthcare. Every doctor, nurse has to have all kinds of paperwork saying that they are who they are and they can do. Adam had a wonderful background in that. My background was more around healthcare clinical data, but really the idea was how do we take a bunch of information and make it more usable? And we did that in credentialing by, providing a platform that could aggregate all of that data and put it in one spot and say, yes, this doctor can go work at hospital A next week. They're good to go. All of their background checks. So we did that in a very, on a technical platform way. It had been done in a very manual way, but there's still a process of gathering those PDFs and stacks of manila folders that have all of this information. And you've got to put it in a system where you can manage not just one manila folder, but thousands of them. And they all expire and have different things and different timing and different rule sets. But we're dealing with a lot of paper and a lot of, unusable data. And we had a team that was typing a lot of that into the system. And our technology head, Matt Sylvester, brilliant guy, said, hey, I'm really interested in these new large language models. And this was about 3 years ago when, AI was kind of just starting to tickle and hitting kind of the top of where it's usable for businesses. And he said that he believed that he could build a system to kind of read some of the basic documents. And so we started with driver's license, and we're like, hey, can we take a picture on your phone of a driver's license and dump it into our system and turn that into, what would look like a spreadsheet of data that you can run a report, you can graph off of it, you can track it and all of that. You can't do that with a picture. So he built it and it worked great. And so we kept pushing him and said, hey, can we do 2-page documents? Can we do technical specs? Can we do 60-page documents? Can we do handwriting? Can we do all of these things? So after 6 months of really pushing the technology, and frankly, the technology moving along with us kind of naturally, where it's gotten better and better and better and better every year, and now it gets better and better and better every month, is to be able to take that and solve problems where everyone is dealing with that, where you get an email and an attachment and you've got to file it somewhere and then you've got to check and reread it. But imagine that at giant scales in different industries. So we really saw that. And from my background in healthcare, knowing the massive amounts of clinical information that come and move around in file forms. All of us have had an experience in healthcare where you have to go in and you've got to fill out that form every time you go in every new office. And you're like, why am I filling this out again and again? I just did this. And it's because the systems don't communicate. One lady puts that in their manila folder at that office and it never goes anywhere and it doesn't travel. That's why you have to do more. Why do you have to take all of your paperwork with you when you go into a dialysis treatment? It's because they can't communicate. So we saw and learned that that was a thing across multiple industries. We got the Morph platform to a point where it could perform at a high level of accuracy. And when we say high level of accuracy, we mean 100%. Like we deliver 100% accurate data. And the kickouts of it can only be in the, we try to get to 3 nines where it's less than 1%, but some technical data, there's going to be some things where it's a blank page or the handwriting's too messy. But the technology got to a point where it was good enough to hit accuracy levels the way that we process, and the market outside of us supported it. That's really how Morph started, was we saw a vision of a technology that was new, that could be seamlessly integrated with other people's systems, that could work across multiple industries, that delivered results that are 20 to 30% better than what it is today, that could be done at a affordable rate. So it's our job to make that accessible to as many different businesses and groups that we have. So that's really how Morph started. A great idea, a need in the market, technology coming to the forefront where it's ready to start solving problems, and a really great group of people that we knew could build and solve problems. So that was the birth of Morph.
Interesting. Okay. So Adam, you're going to talk about the industries that it goes across? Is that where you were going to?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have follow-up questions, happy to answer those directly. At the end of the day, I think the easiest way to think about Morph is everyone, no matter where you are, most likely has data or information that they need that is somehow trapped. It's trapped because it's in documents that are not easily read or scannable. It's trapped because you're sitting under mountains of this information and can't get what you need out of it. It's trapped because the way that you're able to pull it into your systems really can't keep up with the structure of your internal business system. So you know that there's this information. It's just right beyond your fingertips, and Morph is what allows you to gain access to it, understand it better, and relieve that tension that comes from knowing insights are right there and you just can't get to it.
So tell me about the integration. I know George mentioned integration. Like, is this integrating with like other systems, like in medical, legal? Like, how is that working?
Yeah, no matter what industry you're in, there are always sources of information, and there's always places that the information needs to go in order to operate whatever type of business you have. Mm-hmm. And for years and years, the strategy has always been, hey, build an actual integration where you're taking a data model of the sources of information that you have and somehow doing some translation to say, hey, your name is Ben. It's in a field called first name. Over here, we need your name as well, but they've never heard of first name. Mm-hmm. It's just name. And so you can't connect the dots well.
Right.
And like at the most classic, most basic sense of integration. Mm-hmm. So what we looked at was, how do you let people just operate the way that they do today? Instead of building things in a way that takes all of that detailed time and coding and requests for people to change how they work and paying for all of that interoperability effort to connect those systems, we said, can you just leave the information the way that it sits today? And can we create a really great catcher's mitt, a really great funnel where folks can send it in many, many different ways, however it is easiest for them to send today? And can that be the front portion of our service? And so that's the inspiration around the interoperability component of Morph. And then there's the actual processing of the information, which is a whole other conversation. But you asked about that integration component, and that's really it. How do you make it really easy to just take handwritten notes or e-faxes or whatever it is that you have and easily consume it?
Right.
That's part of the inspiration of Morph.
So there's a phrase, bridge between paper and digital workflows. What does that mean practically?
Yeah, well, think about it this way. It doesn't have to mean actual paper. It can mean paper, but it doesn't have to be. It can even mean things like, hey, something hit my inbox or something's on my shared drive. And now I have folks in my business that have to read it and hand enter information into some other system. So at the end of the day, what we want is a fully digitized process where you're not losing information, skipping it all together, or having to touch it manually in order for it to live where it will actually make a difference in your business each day.
Why do you think that this document chaos is still such a problem in 2026, despite all the AI technology and everything out there? I mean, we've talked about, we've had people on the show, like a lot of like legal, like some startups and AI, and this thing's creating a medcron for personal injury lawyers, and this thing's, creating the complaint. And like, it just seems like there's so much paper out there. Tell us, like, why is document chaos still such a major problem in 2026, despite all the technology out there?
Well, yeah. I would love to hear what George has to say about it. But before he jumps in, the part that I think is part of the problem and that we're hoping to solve is that, I appreciate your listeners going through this little journey with us and hearing from us. But most people don't get out of bed every day and go, you know what would be really exciting to me? Taking these trapped data points and documents and somehow making it more usable. So there's not this huge excitement. It's a very pragmatic problem.
Interesting.
That everybody suffers from, but it's not flashy. It doesn't make for these wonderful LinkedIn posts. It's not something that is moving markets each day when you listen to the talking heads on television. And so I think innovation and smart people often move to where the big money goes, or often move to where the most flash is. And it's just kind of part of George and I's DNA, where we say, hey, why don't we just build pragmatic solutions that quickly solve basic problems? Even though it's not the most exciting thing in the world, it's good work. You still appreciate your plumber. You still appreciate your garbage collector. If they weren't there, life would be really cruddy. Yeah. We want to be able to make life easier for folks in a pragmatic way. And we don't mind it not being the top of the news cycle each day.
I love it.
So I would say, Benny, on that question, why is there, a problem of systems not communicating? Why is there still paper? Why do people still fax things?
Yeah.
Why do people use email so much when it's tough to track? You can't run reports off of it. And the reality is, and this is, maybe a slightly controversial, but you probably have to use some operating system in business. And when people design those systems, the way they make money is you use it and you depend on that system. And if it's really easy to get data out of that system and move it to another system, it's very difficult for them to say, you need to stay and you've got to buy my tool. My tool is the only tool that does the answer. So if I made it really easy for all of the information to go to something else, then what's your motivation to stay with my system? And there's a built-in, basically, balkanization when you talk to these systems in healthcare, and I'm sure it's the same in criminal justice, where you've got a system that you use, you buy that system. It's in the best interest of the people that design that system to keep you there, keep your data there,
right,
and to make it kind of hard,
right,
honestly, to get data in and out of it. Because if data can go in and out of it, then you don't need to stick with just that. You have options. So that we kind of, that when Adam said we built the big catcher's mitt that allows people to get data and you can stay where you are, that's really kind of foundationally to also how we built Morph is we want to be able to connect with anyone.
Right.
There is no motivation to stay on the Morph platform. And our customers actually, they don't log into our platform. We're behind the scenes. We just want to connect. So if people want to send stuff via email, via fax, via take a picture on your phone and dump it in an application, we'll let you stay where you are. You don't have to change systems. You don't have to log into ours and make it special for this to work. We've met you where you are. And then we're willing to feed that into our customer system and allow them. So really, it's kind of aligning incentives where a lot of times when people develop software, you're incentivized to keep your customers in that software and make it hard for them to go out or to transfer information. And we just don't believe in that.
Okay.
So we've tried to build something that works across all systems. And so far, we haven't found one that we can't connect with.
Okay. So who's coming to you for help? Who are your customers? I know you've had some early success in healthcare, but who's calling up and say, hey, Adam, George, we got to get our hand on this. What are the steps? Tell us.
Yeah. So it's a wide range of industries. Obviously, healthcare, we have a background, and that's a logical one where there's, 70% plus of communication in healthcare still happens over fax. There's a lot of information. But in the public sector, there's a lot of information, a lot of paperwork in government. We have some customers we worked with where everything down to descriptions of lot sizes is a technical paper and PDF that they have for, a county will have every single parcel of every information, and they have a description of it, and it's saved on a PDF somewhere. Well, anytime a permit gets pulled or something happens there, they've got to go back and find where this is because it's in a PDF or a scanned piece of paper. We can turn that into a full chart and everything where you can find that. So in the public sector, we do stuff there. In the criminal justice world, we've had people talk to us about accident reports. So when they have a transcription of an accident report and it's 40 pages of description of what happened, what was the intersection, what was the time of day, was there a passenger, how long did it take the officer to show up, what was the vehicle VIN, make, model, all of that comes through in this 40 pages of a conversation when in actuality, that customer of ours needed 30 points of information. What was the road? When did it happen? What were the weather conditions? And we've built a system that can take that 40 pages of transcribed information and turn it into 40 data points that you can go and you can take now hundreds of accidents or thousands of accident reports and go, how many of these were in this month? How many of these did the officer show up within 5 minutes? How many did they show up within 10 minutes? How many of them had an injury? How many of these people were wearing seatbelts? So stuff that is in a long format, we can turn that into something where with a click of a button and in real time, you can start really diving in and being able to make decisions. And that's kind of a line that I think that we'll kind of jump in and kind of our view on AI and where we think that it's valuable in gathering information and doing deterministic things. Like, does it say that this person had a seatbelt on? That's a yes or no question. Now, what after that, what decisions you make on policy or judgment afterwards, that's where we say we need a human. I don't want AI making a judgment call on whether or not, hey, too many people are not wearing their seatbelts on this road.
Right.
But I want to be able to tell you that 90 out of 100 accidents, the person wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and then have a human go, what do we need to do differently? What's the policy change? Do we need to change what we're doing and how we react to these? Does the local law enforcement need to have a hotline or something like that? That's the line that we kind of draw in the sand at Morph is, we're here to gather your data. We're here to present it to you so you can make the best decisions, whether that's in healthcare, whether that's in legal, whether that's in the public sector or banking. We work across all of those. But we want to present the most information in the cleanest way possible, quickest way possible, most affordable way possible, so that the really bright people that are out doing their jobs every day aren't spending their time digging up information. They're using their brain power and their talents to make decisions that affect people. And that's what we really think AI should stop. It shouldn't be making decisions that people should be making. It should be presenting the most information in the best way possible for bright people to make those decisions.
Wow. That's it's a lot. So it's interesting stuff. So tell me, I'm just a customer, right? I have no idea what any of this stuff is, but I have tons of files and tons of paperwork, which I do in my full-time role, and because I do have a quasi-governmental role. But anyway, tell me what you came in, you see file cabinets worth of stuff, you see stuff everywhere, files on the floor. What do you say to us? There's resident files, there's property files, there's different types of files, maintenance files. How would you explain it to us, how you could help us out, just a common customer?
The best way to start is to say, what information do you use every day to do your job? We talk about, hey, our customers have a point of view on what good information looks like. So we ask folks, what data is important? And when do those data points come to you where you're happy with them? And when do you see them sometimes and you're like, that's not right, or I can't use that? And so as soon as we can at Morph understand what data you need and what quality means to you, where it is and where it comes from and how, all of that is just explanation. We're able to bring that in. So it's, hey, what do you need? And are you hindered each day because you can't just get what you need?
So where do you scan the dot? How does it work? Like, how do you get all those files in there? You scan them?
Yeah. So the big catcher's mitt that we were talking about before, depending upon the scenario with a customer, we have some that are, they're hindered by what you just described. Hey, if I understood what was in this big filing room, I'd be great. Right now, I send an associate in there and they spend all day digging through the stuff looking for things. That scenario would be, let's scan them and run them through, and out comes the data that you need. Other customers say, hey, we have workflow. We have processes that are in place where there are systems and sources on one side, and then there's the repository or the source of truth on the other side where their actual business decision making is made. And so in that scenario, we just connect the two. We use that big catcher's mitt to say, hey, point all of your sources toward Morph, and then we'll organize and tag and pull out the discrete data and send it to whatever system people are using to actually make decisions. Let's do a really good, easy example.
Yeah.
You get lab orders from all types of organizations across the country. Lab orders that come by fax, lab orders that come by a system, lab orders that come because the doctor wrote it by hand on a pad.
Yep.
Many, many different organizations, many, many different types, no common structure, no common naming convention. Great. We'll receive those in whatever is the most convenient way for all those organizations to send it over. And then we'll standardize the output and put it into the order processing system. So the people who are actually processing those orders, they see the same data points structured the same way every time. And it totally reduces their analysis time, eliminates hand entry of items, reduces mistakes and gaps. And that's really our bread and butter.
So it learns what you need, basically. Like it kind of learns what you're looking for on certain documents and that sort of
thing. The most important part, and it's interesting that you used learn, and this is a good jumping off point for another bit of the discussion around why what we have found, folks in the legal profession like to talk about like ethical use of AI and all the rest. Our platform doesn't learn. Our platform, we tell it what the recipe is and what the standards are for what needs to come out the other end.
Okay.
And we use AI to help read and understand the quality of the information coming from all of the sources. So we don't let AI decide what good is. We don't let AI choose what data points are needed.
Interesting. Okay.
We work with our customers to define that point of view. And that's where you get into a scenario where you get the benefit of the power of AI, but you don't have the risk of customer data being used to train it. You don't have the risk of AI hallucinating. You don't have the risk of AI making gray decisions. It's just, what's the order number? Can you pull out the order number consistently on all of these things really well? Yes or no? And believe it or not, in our world in 2026, technology still really struggles with that.
Yeah.
When you try to feed it from lots of different places. And that's what Morph does well.
Wow. Amazing. Wondering if I could use it in our industry. That's pretty, so is this like an app, or is it like, how does it set up on the computer or whatnot?
It's all behind the scenes. Yeah, go ahead.
It's all behind the scenes. So there is no app. Like, our customers don't log in and see Morph.
Okay.
We're very much infrastructure. So we don't want to be seen. We don't need to be seen. The processing is not, it's a paper and it comes out as very structured, organized data. It's not super sexy and exciting to watch happen. What we want to do is keep people in the system where they're making their business decisions. So the way that we work, and Adam kind of explained this, is, we start with the end in mind. Customer comes to us and says, we need this certain sort of thing. So, in his example of lab orders, but we can even go to something that would probably be more familiar with kind of your audience, and contracts. So we'll have universities that come to us and they have contracts for everything from elevator maintenance to plastic forks in the cafeteria, thousands and thousands of contracts across this large organization. And their department said, we don't have a good way to know when these expire. We don't know the liability of all of our different contracts. And we have 14,000 of them.
Right.
And they're sitting as PDFs in different files in different departments. Can we run 14,000 contracts for everything from elevator maintenance to plastic forks through your system so that we know when were they signed? Who were they signed by? What's the service? What's our out clause? What's the expiration? When's the renewal date? What's our payment terms? All of those things, we can take those 14,000 and then you go and you have real data in a spreadsheet or a Power BI chart where you can make decisions and go, hey, in the next 30 days, what contracts do I have that are expiring?
Yeah.
So instead of then going to that file cabinet and trying to find all of your paper in there and go, man,
Contract.
I think that, our snowplow contract is expiring next month.
Yep.
Well, you think, and do you want to spend the time to look? We can take all of that and in hours, literally turn that 14,000 contracts into, I now know who signed all of these. I now know when they're all expiring. I now know my liability on all of them. I know my timing, so I can start making decisions of, hey, team at grounds maintenance or team at healthcare services, here's your set of contracts that need to be renewed over the next 60 days. And you can start making it more efficient for people to be able to make those decisions.
Yeah, I love that.
That's really what we strive for.
That's a great example because that's how what I do with at work too, like, different contracts and expiration dates and that sort of thing, like renewals and how to get out of it, whatever. So that's interesting. I think that like develops your own contract register. You're like, what's coming up in 30 days that we need to look at, that sort of thing. So what do you think some industries are that are out there that are still relying heavily on like manual workflows and disconnected systems they like to get into?
Yeah, I know that this is probably pandering to your audience, but the legal profession, we believe, is fraught with this, whether it's criminal justice or business law or just transactions, whatever. There are mountains of data points that folks have to read through. And instead of saying things like, hey, there's AI, there's this contract and this contract, or there's this case history or that case history. There are tools for that type of thing that exist in the legal profession already. What we're really focused on is when you are working on a case and there is mountains of information and you need to just go back and look and understand simply like, hey, there's a suspect in this case. I want to take every document that I could possibly get our hands on at all and almost instantaneously understand if their name shows up or not, and a reference to where that is so that I could dig through it more deeply. It's the efficiency that can come and the insights that can be gained from churning through mountains of stuff that humans just cannot do that efficiently, and having it show up on your desk to analyze and then to use as ingredients in a case. So from a legal perspective, that's one of them. The other scenarios, believe it or not, it's manufacturing, whether it's people taking invoices, accounts payable, accounts receivable, different things like that in different industries. People are still hand entering or hand standardizing data almost everywhere.
So,
Think about these businesses that still are nearshoring or offshoring data management tasks.
Legal. It's crazy.
Yeah, you don't have to do that anymore. If there's a task where it's literally I'm reading something and then putting it into a data field so it's easier for somebody else, we love that.
Yeah. The short answer, Benny, is all industries. There is no industry that has this solved.
Yep.
Full stop. I mean, I think that we think of healthcare as an extraordinarily technical industry. You always hear about the technology and all of that. And that is one of the most broken. We gave the example of the public sector. Government, we all know that there's an excessive amount of paper and work there that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Legal, your field, an excessive amount of paper. And that's because the easiest way is just to email something to someone or fax it to someone or mail it or put it in a PDF, because that I can at least see it. The reality is you can see it, but can you use it? Can it be valuable to you? And really, manufacturing's been a great one. We do a lot of work in transportation, higher education. There is not an industry in the world that has solved the problem of how do we share information where everybody can use it. It just hasn't been solved.
So say I have Morph as part of my infrastructure, and we've gone through some files. Can we just toss the files after the Morph has kind of absorbed the info?
The cool thing is you could if you wanted to, but what is really important about Morph is we're not retaining your information. So you're not adding any risk of third parties holding your information when Morph is processing it, which for a lot of people is a barrier to using new technology because they want to have tight control. So in a scenario like you're talking about where maybe you want to throw it away afterward, like you don't want to have it.
If we have a box of files, right? It's like a resonant files.
Yeah.
100 of them. We get them back in, we get them in there, and then we just like throw out I don't think it's really meant for that, but you're on point. So what you would be able to do is you would be able to take these mountains of files that you have, work it through, pull out the discrete data that you need, and then hand it back to you. So now you've got the data. And if you want a copy of that scan, we'll hand the copy of the scan to you too. Yep.
Morph no longer has any of it. You have all of it in a super usable form. And then you can go pitch all of your paper documents, hopefully recycle it or something like that. Right?
Yeah. So is Morph a subscription basis type of thing? Like, how does that work? Is it like a monthly, okay.
Yeah, so our model is based on usage. It's not exactly a subscription, though we do have some customers that do a subscription. It is you've got 400 pages of documents, you pay for processing of 400 pages. There's a standard rate on kind of the complication of the document. If it's got, handwriting, or sometimes we'll get things like engineering charts that are very, very complicated documents that take extra time to kind of process and do some extra work on our setup side. But yeah, you only pay for what you use. So if you use it a lot, you pay, and you know that you've got, a nickel or a quarter a document, and you run it through and you pay your nickel or quarter if you'd like to have it on a subscription. But we very much try to say, hey, here's full transparency. You customer can see every piece of paper that you sent in. You see where it went through. You see what time it did, and you pay your nickel for it. And that's how we do it.
Is that difficult to track, like doing it like that way, instead of being like, all right, we're going to charge you like hundreds a month or thousands a month or something like that?
Yeah, no, it's not difficult to track. Obviously, the system keeps track of every piece of information that comes through. Like Adam said, we don't store any of it. So, I mean, I'd love for us to kind of touch on, the differences in kind of AI philosophy around should companies use your data to make their systems better and things like that, which we certainly don't do. But no, the system, obviously, we keep track of all the different types of data that goes through, so we can tell our customers, when did it happen, what time of day, or even feedback to them. Hey, this customer's giving you challenging information. They're not following kind of your standard on an invoice or a purchase order. They're never putting the extra part numbers on the purchase order. The reason why they're not coming through is you have a specific customer that has a problem. So we can give our customers kind of intelligence on even that part of it. But no, the system can do that, and we like being able to have people pay for what they actually use.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's great. And speaking of AI, I know you said you wanted to touch on that, and feel free to. So let me start off with how important is context and human insight when building AI systems. I think, Adam, you spoke about this earlier a little bit.
Yeah, it's important if you are building an AI model. If you are defining a large language model, like AI is artificial intelligence, so it's supposed to be a proxy for somebody thinking. And I think everybody would agree that you are a function of what you've experienced. And based on what you've experienced, you think differently. than the person next to you or the person on the other side of the world. So this is a topic that gets a lot of attention. And the part that I'm the most proud of is this is a topic that is not relevant to Morph, because the way that we utilize AI in our platform, along with some other tools, it's not influenced by that. We don't train AI to be able to work through however you would use it in your business world, Benny. What we do is we use it to tell it, this is what good looks like for Benny and what he's doing. Now use the natural benefits of AI, not the context, not what it's been fed, but the natural benefits of how it reads language and understands context just from the information, just within what you're feeding it, to pull out what's right. And then Morph has its own proprietary tools that then watches that accuracy and watches that alignment between the output and the rules that a customer has.
Wow. And you've emphasized not believing in black box AI. So what does responsible AI deployment look like?
Yeah. So, we own an AI company. It is an AI with a lot of other technology kind of partnered with it. So yes, we are, but you're not going to hear Adam and I be AI evangelists. We don't think it's going to replace nurses or lawyers anytime soon. We very much believe that this technology should be used to gather the information, stuff that's a black and white decision. When does a contract expire? The AI can go and tell you, looking at thousands of contracts, when do they expire? Mm-hmm. Now, should AI then tell you, hey, your strategy as a business should be to review all documents 2 weeks before their expiration date? And do you want me to do that for you and then respond to your customers? Our line is get that information and use that to be able to inform the people to make decisions. AI should be used in black and white. Again, what was the expiration date? Is it January 3rd? Facts. Those are facts, not interpretation, not decisions off of that. We see AI as a tool to be able to get you to be able to make those best decisions,
right?
Not make those decisions for you. So, we do that all day. Morph does not interpret what you should do from your data. Morph gives you the data so you can make the best decision possible. And we're pretty hard line in the sand to that. We do have, people that are like, well, we could make it a virtual behavioral health specialist, a virtual psychologist. And we're like, absolutely not. We don't want to be a part of that. Now, do we want to use it to give that psychologist all of your information, what medication you're on, who have you seen before, all of that stuff right at their fingertips so they know to make the best decision? Absolutely, we're doing that. But we don't think we should turn that decision-making over to AI. That's what we do. That's what makes human and people special, which is really why we value what we've done as our company. So, Adam mentioned about, that we don't learn off of documents. And this is kind of another values thing for us is, when you think about AI learning, or if you have Claude or a Chat GPT license and you upload your vacation itinerary and you say, hey, find me great restaurants where I'm going to be. That's awesome. It can give you that recommendation. But somewhere for some company, they now have retained what your vacation itinerary is. And you giving that information to them, they've made their system better to pick restaurants off of your vacation itinerary. And now that data that you've given to them, you signed the little checkbox at the bottom when you signed up for it, they now can use it to their benefit. Right. We at Morph do not do that. We do not retain, the system does not learn off of your information. We have unique prompts and unique sub-prompts to be able to get the information out without us learning from your information. So we very much believe that we should not be making our business better off of your data. Our job is to give you the best version of your data possible. And we found a way to do that without taking our customers' information and leveraging it to make ourselves better. We try to allow people to keep their privacy, keep their information. And obviously in your field or in healthcare or in banking, or really frankly, any field, all businesses should want to keep their information to themselves on that and use it for themselves. They shouldn't let an outside partner like us grow and learn off of their information and then go sell it to a different. No, we don't operate that way. So those are kind of how all of those ideas and values mesh, where we think AI is very useful in the business stream and kind of where we want to see it go in the future.
I think the bottom line, which I would love for your listeners to take away from this, is innovation happens all over the place. There are clear cycles when technology evolves and kind of the phases that you go through as it is enhanced. And the big takeaway that I want folks to have is, our opinion is not the end all be all to how folks should use a particular tool or what's right and wrong. We have our values and we've applied those values to our business. And that's nice. That's the right thing for us. The takeaway that I would love for the listeners to have is every conversation about AI does not apply to every AI tool. So if you have listeners that say, hey, we're lawyers and we have scenarios where we would be concerned about using AI because of these features that we've now talked about. It may hold my data. It may learn from me. It may hallucinate. It may whatever. That doesn't mean that all AI tools, ours and others that are out there, use AI the same way. And what we see is most people get caught up in the news cycle. Most people get caught up in the social media or online posts, and then have a hard time thinking critically about their needs, the tools that are out there, and the risks and benefits. So if anything, I would love for people to take away, go use AI, go use other tools. Think critically for yourself about how it's working, not just what it's labeled, and then get the most benefit out of the tools at your disposal that align with your business and the risks and rewards associated with it.
Love it. That's great. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to chat about, to talk about? Tell us about Morph. I know we've been going for about an hour now.
No, I think you've done a great job of prompting us on a lot of different topics.
Thank you very
I really
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I certainly appreciate it, Benny. And I just kind of echo what Adam said, for the listening audience and the people in your industry is, AI is not the boogeyman coming to ruin all of our lives. And it's also not the silver bullet.
Right.
It can solve all problems. You've got people on both extremes saying it's going to be the worst thing ever. It's going to take all everybody's job. And then you have other people that are very excited and think that it's going to be able to solve every equation and everything. And it's this ubiquitous solution. And just like most things, the reality is probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And I would just challenge people to say, let's dig a little deeper and not jump to, I hate this, it's terrible, or I love this, I'm going to use it for everything, because it's not good in either extreme.
I think it's a good
There's
reality
a really cool place in the middle to find, know what you need as a business, understand how the people you're working with are using AI, make smart decisions, and you can get really good problems solved. But that's in the middle of awful to silver bullet. So just find a little spot in the middle, find someone that knows this a little better than you do, learn, and then apply it in the way that you think's best. And you'll be able to use it to solve some problems, not every problem, and it won't end the world. So that's really where we see using this technology and helping all of our partners.
Pragmatic usage. I love it.
It sounds crazy nowadays, right? You can't jump to one extreme conclusion or another. Be educated, make your best decisions, find good partners, and you can benefit from this tool.
Yeah, Adam and George, I appreciate you guys. It's great to connect. And thanks for coming on to Lawyer Stories. We look forward to seeing what Morph has in the future, and trying to help you guys out with however we can. So please stay right there. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in wherever you are in the world today. Enjoy yourself. Cheers.